surprised over the last several days is that there's been so much focus on the motivation for McClellan writing this. You know, was he disgruntled? Is he doing it to cash in? Does he feel guilty? That's right, but there's very little criticism about the truth content. And if you had to weigh which question is more important, the psychological or the ethical, isn't the ethical issue really more important in this case?
Well, I just had this question, Bruce. It does seem to me that there are ethical obligations to get the truth out, and over time you do want a historical record about administration to be right. But there are also, as you well know, a number of relationships that we say, in that relationship, it is important to maintain privacy. Doctor, patient, a therapist, client, a lawyer, client. In many relationships, we say, whatever the truth is going on in there, that the society has a larger interest in maintaining the confidentiality of the relationship.
Is he violating that by writing this book?
And I think that, for the effective functioning of a White House, it's important that the president and people around him not feel that not only is it kiss and tell, it's kiss and run to the publisher and get your money.
In the same way that a source gives up protection if that source lies to a reporter, if a politician lies to one of their advisors, do they give up that?
That's an interesting question.
Well, the thing is, in a democracy, the press secretary is supposed to be a beacon of truth. The press secretary is not a shill for the administration, or shouldn't be a smokescreen. And in a democracy,
I know. Have you watched television in the last, say, 20 years?
And actually, there's some interesting take-home messages here, because the next press secretary will be very careful about going against his or her conscience, because we are looking to the press secretary for the truth, not for the party line. This is a nonpartisan issue. Ethics is the ultimate nonpartisan issue.
My concern with that, I think you're right about basic ethics, but my concern with this in terms of working with the next president with a press secretary, the next president's not going to want to have the press secretary in the room to have
It's not be said about any member. I mean, anybody can write one of these books. Right. So, I mean, it's not just the press secretary who doesn't want. They don't want the press secretary to be here.
Honest, you have nothing to be afraid about.
No, that's not. In every administration, they're going.
Why is it too much to ask for the truth? I mean, that Warren Beatty did this comedy a few years ago that was a satire, because it was premised on the audacious idea that a politician would speak the truth. Why should that be a comedy?
I want to read something that Scott McClellan said about Richard Clark, a former Bush official who wrote a book. And this is what Scott McClellan said at the time that Richard Clark came out with his book. Scott McClellan said, "Why all of a sudden, if he had all these grave concerns, did he not raise them sooner? This is 1.5 years after he left the administration. Now all of a sudden he's raising these grave concerns